Okay, so apparently we're live. Let me go to my YouTube channel. This is the first time I have done it like this.
Yep.
So bear with me for a moment. Probably when I go to my channel. Oh yeah, there we go. Awesome. Beyond Clarity with Tony. There's a slight delay.
That's
Okay,
cool.
I'm gonna close that because that was confusing. Okay, I'm putting the link in the comments here inside of StreamYard. So yeah, maybe I should share that places, but step by step, I'm just kind of each time I do this, I want to take it to a slightly another level, you know. So like last time, I didn't even go live. It was just a recording. It was like a 1 hour conversation with my buddy Conrad, and it took so long to download and then upload to YouTube. And then I was like, okay, now I see why going live makes so much sense, just for like practical reasons. That's how you do your podcast, right? You go
That's how we
live
learn.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. IMC TV now. You paid for the
Hmm.
upgrade on Zoom, and you can go live. You can connect your Zoom to your YouTube account when you go live. And just like you
Okay.
said, you don't have to worry about it uploading or anything. It's there.
So that's done through Zoom.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I didn't know about that feature in Zoom
Yeah.
because I use Zoom. I'm still finding this. I want things to be simple, you know, and so I'm using Zoom for my webinars, and now I'm doing these conversations for my YouTube, and so I've started doing StreamYard, and I like it because it makes this nice split screen. It has our names, it has the logo, but who knows?
Yeah.
That's part of the fun, is just playing with the tools, you know?
Exactly. Finding out what works for you.
Yeah. So where are you right now? I see a beautiful
I am in Beaver Dam,
green background.
Wisconsin. I'm walking
Uh-huh.
down memory lane. I normally have a headset like you, but it's so windy here. I didn't want to mess with it because I remember past live streams like you're doing, the wind would just blow in the mic. So
Yeah.
I'm this random guy walking down this neighborhood, walking
Cool.
down memory lane that I walked down, oh my God, like 12 years ago.
Okay.
Back when I lived here, when I found out I was getting deployed to Bagram, Afghanistan, in 2012, I asked my colonel what was one thing that he missed. And he said color. Because
Color.
over there, it's brown and sandy, and there's really not much
Wow.
to look at. So I would
Crazy.
go down, and little did I know I was attuning in nature. So I was clearing my mind. I was getting out, looking at trees, looking at the water. They got some pretty badass sunsets here. Hopefully, I'll catch
Nice.
that during our live stream.
Nice.
And I live in a town over, and it's so small, we don't have like grocery stores. So went, picked up
Whoa.
a few things, and it's like, I gotta move around. So I apologize if I'm moving around during this, but I almost didn't show up. I
Oh,
know
serious?
I've been back and forth the last couple of days, and I've just been tired. And before I go live, every time, even on my own, I just get myself worked up so much to the point where I'm tired or I'm nervous and I chicken out. And then I remember, I'm like, why are we doing this? Because AZD
Mm-hmm.
wants us to be part of the 300. And I'm like, would I
Mm,
want
yeah.
Apollo acting like this? Would I want him to be all tired and lazy and chickening out? It's like, no, the show
I
must
really,
go on. And
I really wanted to
I'm
get you
feeling
on as a
great.
guest. Really, really wanted to get you specifically on as a guest because of the background we have. And there's something about you that I really, talking to you makes me feel good. And you've been part of my journey with this project of public speaking, Tribe Builder, in a couple of key moments. One, you were one of three people that attended my first ever webinar, and then you invited me on your podcast, which was like really critical experience for me to kind of get into the circuit of doing the podcasts. And it's like it's one of these things. It's kind of hard to get started, but it's actually easy in a way too, because as humans we're naturally designed to be social and speak and use language and share ideas, but we're all kind of screwed up from modern society, and like our voices are constricted. And so it's been a real process kind of learning to speak. What's up? You're muted. Okay. I don't know if I should keep talking. I can't hear you, bro.
All right.
Everything good?
Well, missing dog.
Oh,
Missing
okay,
dogs. So
gotcha.
I'd probably be a good Samaritan and ask if they'd at least need some help,
Cool.
especially the
Cool.
attractive older lady.
Oh, nice.
But the richer area, maybe I get myself a sugar mama.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed the last part of what you said, but that
I was just
brings
talking
up
about
whatever
how
you say.
As us being human beings, we're naturally meant to be social and communicative, and we're very it's language that really makes us different than other animals. And I feel like our true nature is to be very social and expressive and verbal, but modern society kind of has got us all screwed up, and our voices are blocked, and we're scared to share our ideas. And so it's been such a kind of a process of liberating myself. Just kind of talking on camera is like a real trip, and you've been doing it for a while. So can you tell us about kind of your journey? Like, there's a couple reasons. So this podcast is about building online businesses, community building, mindset, but really, really kind of focused on internet marketing and stuff. But I saw you as being somebody that could bring a lot to the conversation. Not that, because I could see you doing coaching more in the future, but where I see you as being involved in this is one, you're a content creator, you're a podcast host, so that's very relevant. And then two, you're quite active in the personal development world, kind of in your own journey. And so that's where we met. So I'm wanting to kind of get into your personal journey. I know you're really involved in IMC Nation, and I know that you've done a lot of other things, a lot of work on yourself in other areas that I've never even heard about. And then also your military background is I'm sure you've got some crazy stories. So maybe you can tell us how you got started with podcasting.
Yeah, this can go so many ways. Well, thank you, Everett, or am I referring you to as Apollo, or is it both here?
Whatever you want,
All right.
But
Everett,
Justin's my
super
first
cool.
name. So
Well, and thank you for mentioning that, because I was going to ask you, why you asked me, why you chose me to be on your podcast, because I did have you on mine. But one reason why is because AZD, IMC Nation, he pretty much like one of those coaches, gurus, because I followed so many of them where I was getting so overwhelmed, where finally I reached a crossroads in my life. When I moved, I'm in Wisconsin, born and raised, but I was living in Florida.
okay.
And I moved back up from Florida to Wisconsin right before winter hit, like 2018, fall of 2018. Oh my God, so humbling.
Mm.
And I was following AZD on his Instagram. I've known him for several years, but it was just so far beyond my comprehension and understanding, because I was like I guess I call it like shiny object syndrome. I moved from one guru to the next. I'd get good at something for a little while, and then I just quit.
Yeah, and just let me quickly fill in any listeners that maybe aren't crystal clear what we're talking about. So we both study a man named Arash Dibazar, who also is often referred to as AZD, which is his three initials, and he's a very interesting teacher. I guess a really quick hand way of describing him would be to say he's a life coach, but that's not really the most accurate. He's kind of in the tradition of sages and gurus that go back to ancient Persia and India, and he lectures daily, and he's just a very interesting teacher. And so that's where you and I met, is at one of his events. And so yeah, it was 2018, you moved back to Wisconsin. It was very humbling. You were studying AZD, aka Rushdie Bazaar, who's a mentor to both of us. And yeah, and so please go on.
Yeah, he was sharing some things because it was so hard for me to invest money in myself because I've blown it on dumber stuff in the past and other gurus. And a couple things that he said, he pointed out, was when one of his fans, one of his like female followers, because he also had a group where he only teach women. Oh, thank you so much, thank you. He's like, don't thank me, pay me. And another thing he said was, you blow your money on dumber stuff, which I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Invest $97 a month. So I was starting to like, and because I was in this other group called Landmark Forum, Personal
Landmark
Professional
Forum.
Development.
Okay, I've never heard of them.
It was great. It's worldwide. Out of Chicago, helped me a lot. However,
Cool.
a lot of the leaders and staff members, not all but some, were just, I really wasn't like connecting with them, and they weren't really living a life I wanted to live. Sorry, let me know if it's too windy.
Yeah, it's a little windy, but let's just do the best we can.
Okay, let's keep going. I'll get a little closer here.
Okay, cool.
And we can always do a round two.
Of course.
About having you on my show.
Please, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let's check this out. Yoga Bliss Chris, now Yogi Chris, Captain Chris, relentlessly following up with me, checking in, like, hey, I see you like Araza's post, what do you think of this and that? And it took several times for me to finally get, it was Love Spell 2.0, I think at the time, or Love Spell.
Yeah, so let me clarify. So Yogi Chris is a part of Rushdie Bazaar's organization, and he is he's the guy that you talk to when you want to sign up and you want to attend events and get involved in what they've got going on and stuff like that. So yeah, and that's his style, very one-on-one. And I'd love to get him on the show one day, because he's got a very a specific way about building a kind of a mentorship coaching business, which is he's got his kind of sphere of guys that he knows are kind of hovering around and interested, and he'll reach out to you like pretty relentlessly if he thinks that you might want to sign up. But he's sincere about it. It comes from, yes, he's a businessman, but he believes in what he's doing as well, right? So he thinks that, if he's got somebody like where you were at, where they're on the fence about getting involved, signing up and attending the lectures and these live events, the kind of transformational workshops that they do, he'll relentlessly kick your ass to be like, yo, you'll come and get involved in this and start growing, start changing, right? And I've been through that with him as well. As a matter of fact, I've been taking a little break from Arash's lectures. Unfortunately, I need to get back involved. And they did a free event last week, so I showed my face, and it was really great. And I was like, oh yeah, I missed this stuff. And then sure enough, Yogi Chris reached out to me on Instagram afterwards, after he'd kind of given up on me. But yeah, and it made me feel good to feel like I'm still welcome and valued in that community. And so then at some point you started getting more involved, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's something I'm going to mention about him is, well, when I first joined, I was like finding a way to make money online. Like that's one reason why I respect you, because you're doing it. And when we met out in San Jose, I was like, I gotta learn from this guy. You even offered it to me. It's just me to have like the patience and discipline to sit there and then eventually earn a full-time income, which will happen.
Hell yeah, it will.
The longest time, I consider myself a number two. Behind the scenes, I was working with my best friend / business partner at the time with films. I was going to Full Sail University and was all over the place, actually, pretty overwhelming. But I was pretty much like an apprentice to him, And I like that because the focus wasn't on me. He was making these big business decisions, like these big moves where I would be too afraid to make. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do to learn from you and help you? And then we kind of both parted our ways there. So I was indirectly like asking Chris, like, how could I work with IMC Nation, to the point where he kind of called me out on it. Like he kind of knew what I was getting at. Well, here he was looking for apprentices to work behind the scenes on his podcast. Now, this was a few years ago.
Okay.
So I did a video interview with him, and Chris is very patient, because there's many times where I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't do what I was supposed to do. See, I was working for free. However, I'd get a deal because I'd be learning how to run a podcast like Chris. And then I believe we got like 10% off of beast camps and programs that will come out. But still, it's like you're working, like Chris works with AZD. So it's like you want to get as close to the guy you're learning from as possible. And one thing I learned when I got into entrepreneurship was, what can I bring to the table for this person? Like, what do you need? Like, your house clean? Do you need me to give you a ride somewhere? You need to pick up food for you? How can I make your life easier where I'm close to you, give value, and eventually learn from you, so we can work together? Because if you're so passionate about something, like I was in these multi-level marketing, people call them pyramid schemes. They weren't schemes. You know, like if you ate at a good restaurant, or you saw a good movie, would you tell someone about it? Yeah. Now imagine if they would have given you like 50% of what you paid for to tell people about it. Would that encourage you to tell them even more? I was in a real estate investing company that did that, but I was so in my head, like I couldn't communicate, where I couldn't even serve ice to an Eskimo. So after however long staffing with Captain Chris, he's like, when are you going to start doing? That's when IMC TV came out. He's like, so TK, when are you going to start doing what I'm doing? And I'm like, oh no. And I'll never forget the first weekend I came out to San Jose. It's where they have their beast camps once a month. I just got back from a deployment. I had a lot of money saved up. I'm like, okay, let's finally do this.
Awesome.
And I know a lot of people out there are afraid to invest however many thousands of dollars it is in themselves, but it's like, you truly believe in it. The people that you're learning from, and let's say you like meet someone like you, like how I met you, I'm like, dude, this is like another version of myself. It's like, this is, and every time I'm getting chills right now. Every time I learn more about you, I'm like, holy cow, this guy is like even more interesting. And the personal stuff you shared in my live stream, like, gave me so much more respect for you, because I went through it, and you finally did something about it and moved away.
You got me to open up a lot in that episode. I remember.
Good. That's what I do. See, AZD, and I'm not really comfortable. I'm going to share the PG version, because this is for the whole world to see. So I'm not going to share the personal thing, but I was so overwhelmed when I went out there the first weekend. Saturday, I'll never forget. I had to leave the room that AZ was teaching in. And I was sitting there on the countertop in the kitchen, like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? Because like, this is what I got to do now. AZD wants us to do what he's doing. Of all the people that come in the kitchen, AZD.
Oh no.
And I'm sitting there like, one-on-one. And he's like, is everything all right? And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, dude, like, thank you for all that you do. And he went, yep. He left the room. I took that as he doesn't want me to thank him. He wants me to do what he's doing.
Okay.
Part of the 300. One of his teachers, before he passed, I believe, told him, he's like, I want you to get 300 men together and start teaching like you are, because he did martial arts and he was doing so well at his school. It wasn't easy at first, but you hear his story, it really encouraged you to keep showing up. Well, at the end of each class, he would start teaching. He would just start talking, and he got really good at communication. A lot of the things that he studies, he's a relationship coach.
Yes.
That's what you call it.
Yes, relationship coach.
Eventually, like, it got so much to the point where he's like, this is taking up my time. I got to start charging for this. And every class is just something new. And I never imagined me doing this on here and having my own show, but this is over 10 years in the making.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And so with like obviously all your life experiences were preparing you to start podcasting, becoming a communicator, becoming a thought leader online. But when was it that you did your first like podcast episode with the podcast that you're doing now?
Unofficially, I'd say about 10 years ago.
Okay, so it's
Can't remember
been
what summer, but I'm going to get pretty personal here. And I'm not
yeah,
really too comfortable sharing this online, but since you're one of my IMC Nation brothers, and I know what I'm about to share is going to help someone,
awesome.
I'll share where it began. I was working. See, the thing with the military, it's it's great. However, sometimes you're doing jobs that you really don't like with people that you really don't vibe or connect with. Like I heard one person refer to it as adult daycare because a
Yeah,
lot of people, me, join because they don't know what to do with their life, or
yeah, right.
they're sick of getting in trouble, or they know if they don't join, they're going to get in trouble. So it's like some people. I just realized the older that I get, the harder it is for me to work with people who aren't on the same page.
Okay.
One reason why I like working with IMC Nation now, IMC Nation Business. That's another topic of discussion. So I was so depressed, like at night. Thank God I had my own room, and I was too lazy to write in my journal, where I would just do videos of myself. I would just talk in my camera, iPhone 4 or something, because I was
Yeah.
following other YouTube gurus, and one of them said like he was just talking to an empty camera, just to get used to speaking. So
Okay.
I'd be crying, and it's like I just got to talk to someone. I got to get it out there. I was
Damn.
too afraid to speak up and say something, because one thing about serving in the military is that if you tell them like too much about what's going on, you're undeployable.
Yeah.
And of course, you want to be safe and everything when it comes to that. So I just sucked it up, pushed through. So I
Wow.
would do videos
And would you
almost every.
publish the videos
I
on
actually have some saved on my um, as private on my YouTube account that I'm eventually going to share. I'll probably share some with you because you're the first guy that actually shared something personal with when we first met that
Mhm.
weekend in San
Mhm.
Jose, because I just felt like I could share it with you, and you're open to it. And I was like, holy shit, okay, there's something there. I'm
Mhm.
going to help this guy accomplish what he wants. Here we
Cool.
are, hopefully.
Yeah.
So just doing videos to myself, and I knew in the future I'd want to see them, because here we are. Some of
Wow.
them I deleted them. Some were so bad, but I know I have some, because when someone comes to me, because I would see the haters on AZD's page calling
Yes.
them out and stuff, and it's like, well, look where I started. This is where I went
Mhm.
through, and you're getting somewhere when you have haters.
Exactly. I'm still waiting for haters. They haven't
Well,
popped
you'll
up yet.
trust me, you'll get there, unless like your friends and family back home just don't care anymore or whatever. But probably, well, once you start hitting it big, then they'll come
Mhm.
out, and
I hope so.
yeah,
There's this great
it can be
stand-up
fun.
comedian. I forget his name. He's this black guy with this unusual straightened hair, and he's going something like haters are meant to hate. Let them do their job. If you got ladies, if you got four haters, you gotta get to 8 haters by summertime. Gentlemen, if you got 20 haters, let's see you get to 40 haters by the end of the year. I don't know, something like that. Like, and
Dude,
it
please
made
send me that
me
video after this.
okay. Yeah, I got to track it down. It's so cool because I haven't really attracted any haters yet, but I've had moments where people have like kind of like I've gotten into conflict, like people have disagreed with me and stuff. And it's a trip and it's like easy to be sensitive and want everybody to like you. And when somebody has a problem with you, my natural reaction is to go, "Oh geez, what did I do wrong? Like what how can I become a better person?" But sometimes people are just full of shit. And just listening to that comedian, it really gave me the realization to be ready for the haters, because when you're shining bright and when you're vibrating high and you're expanding, people are going to be jealous, and they get triggered by your happiness and your joy because they're miserable and they attack you. So,
And that's the
yeah,
thing too. As much as I want to backlash at them, which I have before, you don't know what someone's going through.
right.
So it's like, all right, it's there, but I stopped. When I first started on my journey, shortly after those videos I was doing, I was posting motivational stuff, and I stopped because some of my relatives and so-called friends were making fun of me. So I stopped posting. Well, people I never imagined I'd hear from were private messaging me, "Hey, what happened to your posts? I look forward to them." Like, what, you? Because
Oh yeah, people that you wouldn't have expected.
yeah,
Cool.
because no matter how bad you have it, one reason why I remind myself why I'm doing this. Someone out there needs to hear your story from you.
Yeah.
Stop holding yourself back and
Yeah.
keep showing up. And a couple other, I was in Toastmasters, In and Out,
Okay.
the Landmark Forum, the Intense Leadership Program that was designed to make you want to quit. You get up and speak. And I'll never forget, I shared something real personal that one of my classmates, a female, kind of like a female version of me, I would say, but you and her will get along really well, because I could tell she went through some things, and maybe that's why she felt connected with me. But I shared something really personal from my childhood, and I saw something open up in her, like, wow, kind of like you know,
Yeah.
and I just felt like something. I just felt like reborn, transformed.
Awesome.
Because when you share, like I would stutter and stammer during speech class when I was attempting university, but that's because, well, for one, I was really concerned about what people thought, and I'd go up and I'd just black out and completely forget what I'd have to say. Well,
Yeah.
this in Landmark, you were actually sharing like real, authentic, personal things from the heart.
Yes.
Just like right now, you didn't even tell me what we're going to talk about. I'm like, well, I know we're going to be good.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Totally. And I think that some people they have it okay in life. They don't have a real impetus or need or inspiration to change anything. And then there's people that we've felt a need in life, like, okay, we have to change these circumstances. This is not okay. And that's kind of the paradox of life, because there can be pain involved in that, but that's what makes us grow and evolve, and gives us the strength to get on the journey of becoming, of who we are now and who we're becoming, and it gives us that momentum, of that drive, where some people, they never feel that because they're comfortable enough, whereas we're uncomfortable. So we go, we gotta change, we gotta grow, and then that gives us the fuel to really, really thrive. And so it's a blessing in disguise, and life is paradox, and that's why I relate to you, and that's kind of what's brought both of us to the personal development world, I guess. And so I guess let's go back to your podcast. Like, as you're doing your podcast, so it's like, I think it's once a week. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so what's your thought process about kind of your intentions behind what you're creating as you're doing your podcasting?
Okay. Well, beyond clarity, clarity was a class I was in from a clarity coach I met in Landmark, which I'm not sure if you are familiar with, like Reiki or energy.
Yes.
Them type of people. Well, with clarity, where there's no energy exchange. It's allowing a space of peace, nothing, because with nothing you can do anything. So let's say between me and you, I picture this white sheet, and this may seem out there, but she's helped me so much, and not gonna say what happened with that, but so you picture a white sheet between you and the person, and then whatever you believe in, I believe in God, so I picture God shining a light down on me, and then whatever they believe in, shining a light on them, and then angel wings backing up, whatever. Because have you ever spent time with someone and afterwards you just felt great? Have you ever spent time with
I
someone
think
afterwards
so.
you felt like complete? Can I swear in here?
Go.
Complete,
Yes. Go for
complete,
it.
complete shit.
Some people do that to you. Yeah.
Where yeah, and I'm just like I feel bad. It's like okay, am I doing that? Because I had a friend that lived with me for a couple months where I had to take like a couple-hour nap after spending time with him. I'm like, what's
Damn.
going on? Well, here he was going through some things and energy and all that.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong, and I'm learning how to communicate to people. I'm trying to get away from the lake here so it's not so windy.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry. Okay, get my steps in.
Yeah.
So when I was learning to become a leader in Landmark, she was a leader too. So during our leadership call, she's like, "Oh, I need electrical work done in my new offices. I need electrical." In return, she was going to have her students work on me. I'm learning not to get so much.
Energetic healing work.
Yeah,
Nice.
clarity work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even think of the acronym right now, but I can put in the description after this.
Okay. Cool.
So she saw something in me where she's like, "I'm going to teach you this." So she offered me like a few $1,000 class because I did about that much work in her new office.
Okay. Sweet.
And I was getting really good at it, but I was going through some personal things. Like I was living with my dad and taking care of him, who was beating cancer, which was really tough, and some other stuff where I stopped showing up. But I learned enough where I'm like still able to help people.
Mm-hmm.
So my original name was going to be called Closer to Clarity, getting you closer to something. But
yes,
some like small name band already had that.
Oh, geez.
I reached out to them and like, well, we don't own the rights to it. I'm like, yeah, but still. And then my coach Michaela, who taught me, said Beyond Clarity, and
Nice.
she's like, hey, shake, hey, pasa. She speaks in tongues because she's connected to the higher power. She communicates with ancestors, people's like my friend during my session, and this was actually embarrassing because it was in front of the entire classroom, called me out and told me to stop messing around because I was being stupid at the time. But it's real, you know. And I had this gift, but I got so in my head, I get scared. I go into self-sabotage mode, self-destruction mode. So I'm thinking like, okay, where are other people doing that? And how can I help them? So I got this business I paid for. I had money at the time, you know, I invested a lot of money into it. Let's finally use it, because I would go live on Zoom. These were private Zoom sessions before IMC TV came out. And a couple of our brothers, Kenny Simmons and Phoenix Walker, would show up almost every class.
Okay.
What was supposed to be like a half hour, sometimes it'd be a couple hours.
Okay.
And then I'd catch myself, I'm like, brothers, nothing wrong, but I'm just exhausted right now. So you catch yourself learning how to cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Captain Chris and AZD's blessing to do it. I was in good standing with IMC Nation, because you have to have like high enough rank. You have to earn beads for attending so many beast camps, certain beast camps, and you can't be messing up or doing stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get out of line and they correct me, but that's what we do. We look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that started.
Cool. Yeah, and so because I know that there's a family of podcasts that you've got your Beyond Clarity, and then there's the umbrella IMC TV, and then there's some other members of the organization that are also doing podcasts, and they're kind of all affiliated with each other, right? And you're all publishing together on the IMC TV YouTube network. So it's really unique. I don't know if anything else is out there quite like it. Like how many shows are there in under the IMC TV umbrella?
I almost want to say like 12,
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much at least one a day. And it's actually kind of getting overwhelming because sometimes there'd be like 2 shows going live at the same time. I have to reach out to them like, hey, nothing wrong, just please go live at the same time
Yeah.
as me. But
Yeah.
they out in California, base 2 and 3, they'll have their brothers on there. I know base 3 in LA is doing really good. So here's like this YouTube channel with all these different types of men guru that you feel connected with that you can learn from. And
Mhm.
I normally don't have too many people come on my lives, but that's okay because one thing our teacher at ACD said was there's another person on the camera there and it's you. Do it for yourself. I don't care if you have only one person. And I was like, oh my God, that's how it started. When I was
Mhm.
alone by myself, so depressed, I had to get it out there, which I did.
Mhm.
Do it for you. And don't be,
Exactly.
it's nice when you have, guys supporting you and especially those pretty girls supporting you. But,
Mhm.
and we all get caught up in it. I'm guilty myself, but do it for you most importantly.
Yeah. And it's like, it's such a powerful move to make in life to start communicating on social media, and so few people do it. And there's no kind of education, or like nobody's going to do it for you. Whereas, like, let's say you want to be a lawyer. Well, you go to first you get your degree, and then you go to law school, and then you do articling at a firm, and there's this established path of becoming that high status member of society where you're a lawyer and everybody goes, oh wow, you're rich, oh that's amazing. And but nowadays, one of the most powerful, like, if you can be a really established thought leader in social media, that's one of the that's like those are like the new rock stars of our age. And it's a skill set in it and of itself, but there's not really, like, yeah, maybe you could like study broadcasting or something like that in college, and that could give you some skills. But all the biggest, like the Paul brothers and stuff, all these people, they just went and did it and kept doing it again and again and again. And it's like, we just have to trust that as people, as humans, we're capable of learning a skill set. Like, because when we were babies, we didn't know how to speak, we didn't know how to read and write, we didn't know how to do math, read or drive cars. And we learned how to do all those things, which are actually really, really complicated. So that same kind of life force or whatever that gave us the ability to do that, we can also tap into that and really become proficient and even excellent at this whole kind of social media, communicating, speaking, sharing ideas thing. And it takes time. It's like the 10,000 hour rule. But and obviously some people are going to be more gifted at it than others. Some people really, really have a knack for it, and but anybody can go pretty far with this if they really, if they go for it and they put in the time and they practice and get better and better and find their unique voice and find what they're passionate about. And so you and I were doing it, and good things are coming from it, right? And it's like pure the sky's the limit. Like, some really cool things have happened to me. Like, I got invited to speak at an Acapulco festival, which is an anarchist libertarian event in Mexico every year. And that was so amazing. Like, I was so surprised by that.
How many people?
And like 500. But so I was
Holy
a
shit! You
but
spoke in
but
front of
but
500?
no, but here's the thing. So there was two categories of speakers. There was like the main speakers and like pretty famous people, like Ron Paul was there. But then there was the virtual speakers, which were pre-recorded presentations that were accessible through the website. And I don't know if that was even showing live at the event because I did not go in person. But yeah, but maybe in
Still,
the future I'll be able to present
that's
live in
pretty
person.
awesome.
It was awesome,
That's a
yeah.
start.
And it was a really encouraging, like, for me to keep going, to get that kind of early positive feedback. Like, okay, keep going, like, because these things do take time. Like, for example, my YouTube channel, that's really what I'm focusing on now. And this conversation we're having is primarily meant for YouTube. I've got 9 subscribers so far, but everybody starts with 0 subscribers, you know, like
More than me.
you. Okay, right on. And it's like, let's say somebody goes to the gym and they try to bench press 300 pounds and they're like, oh, I can't do it. I guess the gym's not for me. I better quit. You know, it's like, no, you pick up like 100 pounds and you do 10 reps and then you come back the next day and build. And so, you know, I have my doubt.
Sorry
What's
to
that?
cut you off. That's the way I used to think. If I
Yeah.
wasn't good at something, I'd get really discouraged and just quit right away.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a battle that we all go through, especially maybe if we've been told we're not good enough or something like that, or we didn't get.
The upbringing had a lot to
Yeah,
do with it. And that's
a
one
lot
thing
to
with
it.
AZD is I didn't realize I needed to do inner work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason why, a big reason why I went with him. And
Yes.
that's another topic of discussion. But
Yeah, well, I'd love to get into it. I mean, you know, as surface as we want, but, um, you know, because the, the kind of overarching theme of the podcast is kind of like life coaching, online coaching, right, in all different forms. And so, you and I have both really, really resonated with AZD as a coach, as a mentor. And can you talk about kind of like why? Because there's so many coaches, there's a gazillion coaches out there. Some of them are great, you know. Like there's a lot of really cool people out there. Wes Watson is pretty awesome. I don't know if you've heard of him, um, but AZD is the one that you know you and I are really really resonate with, and we've put a lot of time and energy and money into studying with the man. So can you talk about like why, as you're going through life, looking for resources to educate yourself and grow, what was it about him that really resonated with you?
well, I'll tell you what, when I first got introduced to him from a friend I met in the community, when AZD was very well known as like one of the top, I guess, seduction coaches, he called them. You know, I was learning pickup because I was always a shy guy and I want to learn how to improve on my communication. Well, I followed way too many gurus. Well, when I went to AZD's website and I saw a picture of him with all his girlfriends there, I was like, oh my God, this can't be. You know, I'm a small Cowtown boy. Like, it's so far beyond my understanding. And then seeing the haters on his channel and then other gurus saying, like, oh, he hires those models and stuff. But I knew deep down what he was doing was real. And what scared me was that I knew I had it in me. And I saw what I was going to have to do. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go through all that. Fast forward several years later, the story I told you before,
Yeah.
he was sharing things that hit home and he would start like going more inner in depth, like, because I would learn from these coaches, but it's like I still had this inner work that I needed to overcome to get through.
Yes.
And one thing he mentioned before I invested in his program was having the discipline to do what was right, because I was still making bad decisions. And, you know, kind of like what Albert Einstein say, insanity is like doing the same thing and expecting different results, making poor business decisions. And when I invested in his program, he would have these other programs you could invest in, and one of them was called MWA, Monks with Attitude. 4 videos, $97. It still took me a bit to invest in that because I was so used to blowing my money on dumber stuff. And the one thing that really stuck out with me the most in that was attitude. Changing my attitude about, it's like, it's not what happened, it's how I react to it that matters.
Totally.
Another thing he got us into.
Totally.
And then just like when I was in Landmark in the seminar, before I stopped going because during the whole lockdown, we couldn't even attend in person. And here I am overseas, still serving. And I see these men all on the same page together without wearing a mask, without having, pretty much know what's going on. I'm like, I want to serve with these guys. And even though I'm getting a comfortable full-time income, it's like eventually when I'm on my terms, because I finally retired after 20 years, I want to serve how I want to serve with who I want to serve.
Okay.
Here we are. And it's just like he was, the things that he shared with me, I was not happy at first. I was actually mad at him because I'm like, this can't be true.
Do you mean personal, like direct, or his teachings in general, or stuff that he was
That was
personally?
one of them. The things that are going on. I don't want to say too much because I respect your show, and if this is live stream on like a social platform, but I
Yeah.
learned some things that were going on that really upset me. But just like you were saying about the haters, this is completely separate now. When you're like improving, I've had this with my friends here. I was on the hater side in my early 20s because some
You
of
were
my
a hater. You were a hater in your
I was
early
a
days.
hater. Oh yeah, because I was getting blackout drunk on the weekends, working for my dad, which I hated, not liking what I was doing. And then here my friends are like, one of them got into sales and marketing, and he got really good at it. Another one got into hospitality. He was like working at some resort in Florida, which I got close to getting at, but then I went back into self-sabotage mode. So here my friends are making moves, making things happen, and I was a hater. Well, in my upper 20s, when I started doing what we're talking about, my friends around here became haters. And one of them I'll never forget, who actually taught me how to DJ. And I told him, like, dude, when I make it big, I'm going to bring you on stage with me, even though he's not going to like it because he got stage fright. One reason why he stopped. But he found his passion into something else. He's like, you think you're better than me? I'm like, here's you, here's me. We're on the same level. We're just doing our own thing. I'll support you if you want, but I'm going to do my thing whether you like it or not. And I know it's not easy, and you try to bring them along and have conversations, but some of them, like, I got burned by one of my best friends. I realized I was in a narcissist empath relationship. I gotta be careful how much I share on here. But after seeing it happen to one of my brothers in my new tribe that I created out here because I did what AZD told me to do, I saw it happen to him. And I'm like, no way is this happening. And after investing the thousands of dollars, coming out to VIP events where I met you, I'm like, I gotta do something with this. And it wasn't easy, but just having the mindset and knowing it's like I'm part of the best tribe in my opinion in the world, and I have the confidence. Now I know how to properly do this. Let's do it right this time. So I brought two powerful men together, and it's funny because one of them that's super tapped in, open to what we're doing, wanted to do a handshake agreement on the contract.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, we're getting this in writing. And this goes for everyone. When you go into business with someone, I don't care if it's a family member, your best friend, someone that you've been working with and trust for years, get it in writing.
I
Because
agree.
when the money doesn't come up or something happens, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. I've made bad deals where we had a gentleman's agreement and then I had nothing in writing and the business was technically in someone else's name. And yeah, I've learned that the hard way through some of my e-commerce projects.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you remember how that made you feel? Did it stop you?
No, you got to keep going, but it's like it hurts, to think, gee, if I had gotten my fair share of that, that would have been life changing, and I'd be a lot further ahead. But at the same time, we can't dwell on it. We have to realize that there's infinite possibilities and live in expansion and abundance. But we have to change how we're operating. And so, like you're saying, like getting stuff in writing, and that's part of the skill set of being a deal maker, being an entrepreneur and a businessman. And um, having a powerful network, we're all learning how to navigate those things more effectively. And um, yeah, like you mentioned, narcissists, and I've been attracting a lot of the wrong people into my life, and so many takers. And I've had moments where I'm thinking, like, am I just attracting the wrong people, or is this really what humanity is like? Maybe everybody's just takers. Maybe there are, but I don't believe it. I believe there are.
Can I tell you something?
Go for it.
You're a nice guy. You
Mm-hmm.
know how I know that? Because you and I are a lot like each other. I'm getting chills right now. But whenever I get chills, I believe you can believe what you want, but there's like a higher power around me sending me signals like, yes, we're onto something. One reason why we hit it off and I felt so connected with you where I could open up to you. And then I saw you posting stuff on your Instagram, like you got a new show. And I'm like, well, Captain Chris, he does collaborations. I'm going to start doing collaborations to encourage my fellow IMC Nation brothers. I've had a couple bad collaborations because they got out or one of them went off the deep end. But with someone like you, I'm like, I see this gift that you have that you can share with the world and people that want to start their own business. How can I help you, get more comfortable speaking? And here we are. Well, the thing with
Yeah.
IMC Nation is that when I went out to the first VIP event, I told him I don't think he'll mind me sharing. Alex Cervantes, or not, no, Raul Cervantes. I knew he had a brother. He was like one of the first guys I was following on Instagram that was sharing personal stuff where it was like, man, I just felt connected with him. Well, he wanted me to come out there, and I told him, like, why me? He's like, because I feel connected with you, and a lot of the videos that you put out in our private Telegram group, I resonate with. And I'm like,
Cool.
oh, you're gonna make me cry. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll only be able to give you like payments, and it might take a year for me to pay it off. I go out to the first VIP event. I'm like, oh my god. Seeing AZD, manage the party,
Yes.
the models, the dancers,
Is that the one that I was at?
the club owner, the club manager. No,
This is a different one.
this is a while back. This is the very
Yeah.
first one they ever did. The
Yeah.
one that you
Okay.
were at, that the two back-to-back one, that helped me even more because when I came back home after my first one, I'm like, I got to do something here, and I got to start making moves. And then whenever I start feeling myself kind of fall off track and I have the money to invest, I'll go back out there again, or I'll participate in the VIP event. Where was I going with that? So he told me, as long as you're IMC Nation, like we're under the IMC Nation contract. So as long as I know you're in, you're good. Pay me back. When you're not in good, they call it good standing in IMC Nation. Like when you owe money or something happens, then you start getting what's called accountability checks, where you have several people reaching out like, hey, is everything good? It's like, because people, I've seen it in previous failed business relationships. One thing I actually learned from seeing these two is that one guy like threatened the other, like pretty much like really intimidated him to the point where he didn't think he had to pay him back. So when it happened to me, I like gently communicated with him like, look, this is what you're doing. I can't take this anymore. And show him, because he's done it to so many people. I'm like, well, someone's got to tell him this, because one thing about narcissists and sociopaths is they don't know what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And they'll sometimes even point the finger at you and like blame you for something. And I'm like, oh my, and then finding out his upbringing from talking to his mom, some things that happened to him. So it's like, now before I go into business with anyone, it's like, okay, what kind of an upbringing did you have? And what are you doing now to overcome what happened to you? So that's why I get everything in writing. But when you're under the IMC Nation contract, it's like, I know what your morning process is. I know you're not like getting drunk and being stupid. I know you're reading Stoicism. I know you're taking care of yourself. And I know that there's someone around there that could probably find you to see how you're doing. But still, getting it writing. But that's how it started with that. And even the tribe that I created out here, we had a couple people fall off because they weren't for what I was doing. But I'm so open about it. It's like, well, if people are going to be open about their lives, you don't have to hey, because I've had several relatives hating on me, but I'm like, okay, are you really happy the way you're making it look on social media? You know, that if you want to get married, have kids, work a job you don't like, that's fine. But this is what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
boy, it's pretty lonely out there in the entrepreneurial world. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why one reason why with that, that's why I'm just saying you come across as a nice guy and people see that as
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to take advantage. Now, if you're
It's
able to
true.
do business with members of IMC Nation, they're making so many businesses out there in California. One reason why
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get out there or move to a base this November.
Mm-hmm.
But online, I mean, we can do this. We can build business. I'd love to be a coach. I mean,
Yeah,
eventually, to get paid a full-time income, it's not about the money, but when you're earning a full-time income doing what you love, it allows you to give more. When you're putting all your focus
absolutely.
into that and yourself, filling your cup so you can fill others. I mean, let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
start.
And you've got your own unique thing going on because you're totally immersed in the IMC process, with the stoicism in the morning routines and that stuff. But then you also have your energy work that you've acquired over time, those skills. And then I feel like a big part of your story, even though it is the past, is your military training because you were in the military for 20 years, right? So these are kind of, from my perspective, these are the different flavors that make you unique, And so, yeah, I encourage you to continue kind of like alchemizing them all together into your own unique stuff and keep evolving what you're doing online because you've got your platform with your podcast. And so one thing that I talk about with my tribe builder stuff is that sometimes people have an audience and then other times people have like an offer, a course or skills that they want to help people with. And then when you can I was just saying this with my friend Conrad yesterday, when you can bring these two things together, then you can have a really powerful online business where you're helping people and you're making money and you're already really established with your having an audience. And so I could see you over time finding the way of what is it that you're offering in terms of transformational experiences, knowledge, wisdom, and kind of packaging that in something that you can offer to people to, to facilitate personal transformation. I see that kind of being so. Definitely, I encourage you to keep doing the podcast, and then also start to think about, like you have all this stuff to offer, and you've overcome so much in your life as well, and so that equips you with the skills and the knowledge to help other people that are suffering and help them overcome things. So that could take the form of an online course. It could be one-on-one coaching. It could be events. I could definitely imagine you doing like a personal transformational event, like a workshop or something would be really cool. Like maybe you go out into nature and howl at the moon or journal. I don't know, stuff like that.
Dude, I've been to a few of those. It's funny you mentioned that. And I always pictured myself doing that too, but it's been a 4-year process now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like everything has its time. Like here I am. Just in the last little while, I've started kind of like talking on social media after, like, why now? Like, I've been on Facebook for, I don't know, 15 years or something, and Instagram for, I don't know, 10 years or whatever, or even longer. And why now am I going for it? It's just because sometimes everything has its time, and sometimes maybe we're doing the inner work and then it's not even apparent the changes that we're going through. Like there's this one of the earlier kind of self-development things that I attended when I was 18. I went to a free evening presentation with a guy named T. Harv Eker, who teaches the what's it called, the millionaire mindset or the secret psychology of wealth or something like that. And I went with a friend, and we were invited by a friend of his mom or something, and because there's all this kind of network marketing elements to what he was doing, and I got really excited at the time. And then I was talked out of it because my buddy was like, "Oh, he's a charlatan. He's a fraud." But at the time, I got really excited by it, and I actually I kind of fell for a classic sales gimmick where he's saying how they had sold out most of their books the night before in the next town over, but there's just a few left. And so I got up and I raced to the back of the room and I bought the book. But anyway, he said something that really stuck with me, which is there's a certain type of tree in the Amazon jungle, I believe, that for like 70 years or something, like a really, really long time, it only grows to be like a foot tall. And then and then after so many years, in like 3 months, it grows to be 100 feet tall. You can practically see it growing. And because what it's doing for the first like many, many decades is it's growing this huge roots system. And then once it's got all these massive roots in the ground, it shoots up to like the very top of the jungle canopy or whatever it's called. And obviously that's like a metaphor for people, and so we've got the root, we've been building the roots for, like, we've got so many big strong roots that are in place beforehand, and then that we can really thrive like so quickly. Sometimes people change so quickly on the, it seems like they're changing so quickly on the outside, but it's because they've done all that inner work on the inside first. And then once you're in that right mindset and that right state of being, the success and the recognition and the money and all that can come very, very quickly. So there's just some things, it's just their time. So
Yeah, and that's why I like hearing from the ones who share the hard times they went through, because I thought I have mostly psychological upbringing, but the stuff AZD shared, oh man, like what he went through, like imagine like being moved overseas as like an illegal immigrant, and not being able to speak the language and getting bullied and picked on all the time, so much to the point where it's like, the people that finally do something where enough is enough. That was me in my upper 30s, where I'm like, well, I still feel this way. I still have the same goals. Why am I not doing all the stuff that I said I was going to do 10 years ago? And with him, I'm like when he was 21 and like of the struggles he went through starting his business, and now he's teaching it. He's like, trust me, I've been through it. If I could do it, I was just one of you, just like you on here listening to someone, and I learned from him. And now he's like better than some of the coaches he learned from.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, well, we've been going for a little over an hour, so super happy with that length. And what are some kind of last thoughts that you want to share with the audience, or anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I've shared a lot today, but the last thing I want to end with is keep showing up.
Keep showing up. I love it.
So I don't care what you've been through, how many times you quit, gave up, and that was, okay, quick side story. When I moved back up here, I was working as case slot in the Walmart distribution center. So there you would put thousands of labels on boxes. And it was very mentally and physically draining. Well, in the morning before every shift, I would listen to motivational, YouTube's got them, motivational videos. And one of them, the guy would always say, keep showing up. Like, you're going for this, keep showing up. This happened, keep showing up. Especially the days where you feel like it. And that's where I told myself. And that's where I was actually on the weekend shift. And then Yoga Bliss Chris was reaching out to me. He's like, well, our camps are on the weekend. And then I was like, enough is enough at my job. I had just enough to quit my job and do a beast camp on the weekend. And it was just my
You
life
showed
was
up.
changed from there. But
Awesome.
trust me, so many times I wanted to stop showing up. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's important to have a tribe, coaches, people you connect with and work with who hold you accountable to your word and catch you when you're slipping off track and when you're not showing up. Like, hey, what's up? Where you been? Here we are.
Amen.
Keep showing up.
Here we are. Keep showing up. Great. And so where should we direct people that want to reach out to you and connect with you or find more information about you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yes. Well, I do have a proud bio on imcbase1.com. That was
Yeah, and
actually where I was like,
I've included the link to that in the description of this video as well.
and then my full name here, Tony Kamiski, if you want to search me on Facebook, and Kickstart Cash on Instagram.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
Yeah,
link there. So yeah, you feel connected, reach out to me. It's what I do.
totally. Reach out to Tony. Okay, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon at some point in the future.
We're gonna have a round 2. I'll have you on Beyond Clarity.
Please, I'm ready whenever.
All right, it's gonna be soon, brother.
Okay, brother. Have a good one.
You're welcome.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.